Greetings, fellow model railroad enthusiasts. Welcome to the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston subdivision in HO Scale. My name is Darrell Cruz, owner and builder of the layout, and your host for weekly update number 26 of season 2024. This is a pretty special update because we have a big change from all white plaster to realistic colors, I hope, and realistic ground cover. Make sure you like this video, subscribe, do the notification thing. Really appreciate that. So this is what it looked like last week. Spent probably 3 days putting these rock molds on. I had some latex molds put together. Here you can see some of the detail and the way things kind of fit together. And probably 3 or 4 different molds, actually more like 5 different molds that I used. But had basic cardboard webbing, rosin paper covering that, plaster gauze, and plaster on top of that, and it was ready to go for some color. For the rocks, I used basic acrylic paint from Hobby Lobby that I purchased. Have 3 colors: the raw umber and neutral gray 5. Again, these are from Hobby Lobby, and then ivory black, kind of a opposites there. But anyway, I mixed these up into 16 parts water and 1 part paint. Now, one of them was 1 part paint to 32 parts water. So the way this works to get this to look somewhat realistic is you have primary colors and secondary colors. And I decided to go ahead and test it on, I just made some rock molds from the same latex molds, some rock, plaster rocks out of it, and I decided to do some testing and just kind of experiment on it. This first one, I am testing it with just 2 colors, a primary color gray and a secondary color black. And you kind of do that, I guess it's called the leopard method, where you just put dots of paint from each of them. So first I did just dots here and there of the gray, and then I came back and did dots here and there with the black. And I tried to make sure that most of the white was covered with one or the other. But it just kind of going back and forth between the black and the gray. And again, in this case, the primary color is gray, the secondary color is black. Once I got it pretty much covered between the two, then I came in with the primary color, which is gray. But this time, it's 32 parts water, so it's much more diluted. And so it kind of, with it being more diluted, it kind of pulls them all together without, doing away with the secondary color. So it just basically pulls both of them together, and you kind of start at the top and let it run down, but then you have to kind of, make sure it covers everything. Sorry, my arm's kind of in the way here. Didn't really think this out all that well. But it really kind of works out cool the way that you have the 2 colors and how they come together. And it really, in little time at all, it comes out looking pretty good. Here's my second one. I did actually 4 different samples. I poured 1 mold in and then broke it into 4 pieces. Now this time I'm doing three colors. Primary color is still gray, but then we have two secondary colors, the black and the raw umber. And again, you just put dots of paint here and there. Did a little bit better with having my arm out of the way this time. And this is the black. Now for the raw umber, if you look at prototype photos, it's pretty much all gray. You have to really kind of look for anything that's kind of brownish. But I still wanted to put some of the brown in there so that it would be there, but just very little of it. So I kind of, now on this one here, I did put it into a lot of different places. And I found out after I did this, I was like, okay, that's too much brown. Actually, it looks pretty good once we put it all together. But it's not really the type of rock color you have on the real Taggart Mountain. And now I'm switching back to the 1 parts paint to 32 parts. So you come back with the primary color again at a higher dilution to kind of pull everything together. All right, so here's how the four different test rocks came out. This was too much brown in these. They actually look pretty good, but for the Taggart Mountains, it was just a little bit too much. This one here was pretty close. This one has no brown at all, so I kind of wanted something in between the one that had no brown at all and the one that had the least amount of brown at all. So that's kind of what I was shooting for. And I was really happy to see that, okay, this technique that I'm going to be using does work out well, and it is something that's going to work for this particular mountain. So here you can see the results. This took about 45 minutes to do all this here. And you can see there is some brown. There's some areas here of the rocks where there is no brown at all. It's just the gray and the black. But then there are areas where there is brown. So I kind of came up with what I think is the right ratio of the gray and the black and the brown. Here you can see me actually doing it on the part of the mountain that's been blasted away. Kind of see how it works on a larger scale. This is the primary color of gray. All right, then then I went with a brown second and just try to put it a little bit here and there. This part that's been blasted away on Taggart Mountain does have more brown color to it on the prototype. So I did put a little bit more of the brown in this area here. And then I came back a third time with the black. This is really a pretty easy technique to use. I found this, I did a lot of research on different ways that people color the plaster rocks. And this technique that I'm showing you here, I found on an old Woodland Scenics video where they talked about the primary colors and the secondary colors and a method for kind of tying it all together. And then I'm doing the 32 parts water to 1 parts paint of the primary color again. And for this last one here, it is a way to make sure that all the plaster gets colored. Don't want to have any white spots at all. And if you look at it like right now, you can see how the top of this looks so much better than the bottom. That last layer of the primary color really kind of, pulls it all together and makes it look like naturally formed rocks. Hey, here's how it all looks with all the rocks colored. When I first saw this, I really liked the way all the rocks looked, but then I was like, man, that's a lot of rock. Yeah, it's like, okay, that seems to be an overdose of rock. But once you put the vegetation in, it definitely makes it look a lot more realistic. But when I was definitely very happy with the way this turned out. Here it is on the back side. Now these rocks here are actually, when you see the final, I really like the ones on the other side of the mountain. Just those 3 molds there. When I put the ground cover on, it looked really nice. All right, then once I was happy with the results, then I came in with some, I guess you could call it scenic cement. It's basically 1 part glue, white Elmer's glue to, I think I have 5 parts water. I have to dilute it enough to be able to spray it through the sprayer. And so what this is for is it kind of seals the paint in the rock, because the last step then is to come back one more time with the black. And with the colors kind of sealed, the plaster won't absorb any more paint. So when you put the last coat of black in there, then the black just goes all into the crevices. And that makes it, gives a little bit more detail with the black being in the crevices, and you see a lot more of the rock formations. All right, so before I got back to the rocks, I did put ground cover in the area around the bridges. Masked off the track first, and then basically just painted it with a Sonoran desert color paint, and then used fine turf, yellow and green, and then coarse turf in about 3 different colors, and then underbrush, and then finally some clump foliage. Although there's not too much clump foliage in there yet. All right, for the tunnel portals here, I don't have any rock molds there, but I kind of wanted to show the rock, around the vertical parts there, so I painted that gray with some ballast mixed in. That always works out real nice, putting the ballast in with it, because it gives it some texture to it, so it doesn't just look like paint. And here you can see the ground foam in around. These rocks that on this side, really, the way that it's kind of underneath all the vegetation really came out a lot better than I thought it would. Now this is all wet, so that's why it kind of looks a little whitish there. Hey, here I have even more vegetation in. I did put some vegetation, some trees around the top where the mountain touches the upper fascia. Put some trees in there to kind of hide the backdrop and hide what was behind there. And I also have the black paint in there for the additional detail. And this is after it's dried a little bit. Still is a little white. So definitely look, you have to kind of make it look like the vegetation is on top of the rocks. And here now I have some trees in there. I have the blue masking tape off of the tracks and tunnel portals, and got the bridges back in. Got the trees, some trees. Now the whole idea, there's not very many trees out on the Evanston sub, but there are trees around the Weber River. So this part of the layout from here all the way to Echo is the Weber River Canyon. And there are definitely a lot more trees along the river than there are on other parts of the Evanston sub. Notice I also painted the backdrop here. So that doesn't look like so much of an overload of rocks. And the Taggart Mountain is basically just a mountain of rock. I may add some more vegetation still. As I keep looking at the pictures, I notice that there is a little bit more. I went ahead and painted the river here. Kind of came out to be gray along the banks, so I think I may do this over because I want the banks to be more of a brownish color, not gray. But definitely try to go with black as much as possible, and then a little bit of brown on the banks. Now I will put trees in here on that side of the bridge, but I'm kind of waiting until the backdrop goes on. But when you put the clear coat on there, it reflects light, so that when you look at the river from different angles, it'll reflect the green from the trees, or it'll reflect the blue from the backdrop, and so it really picks up colors, which is pretty cool. And now we get some trains running through here. This is how it looks right now. I'm real happy with the way this turned out. As I said, I still need to put in a backdrop here. I have that already put together. Here you can see a picture of what the backdrop that I'm going to have printed at Walgreens. And we'll put that here along the river. And that'll complete the backdrops up to the mountain. I probably won't do the backdrop on the other side until I get the rest of the scenery done on that side. Once I get the backdrop in, I'll put trees on the other side of the bridge also. I've been kind of waiting on that because it's going to take some effort to put the backdrop behind the scenery. And as I said, it may end up putting some more vegetation. I'm going to look at some pictures some more and decide what to do about that. Really like how this river turned out also. We'll probably put some canoes and the rafters in there. So this is where a couple of through truss bridges will be. This next week I'm going to concentrate on getting the backdrop in there at the Weber River and ballast this track. Maybe add a little more vegetation. And then the next week, the next step after that is to get the through truss bridges put together and installed and start working on the area around Devil's Slide. That's going to be even more spectacular than this, I'd hope. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate your support. Make sure you like this video, comment, and everything. Have a great week, everyone. Take care.